Hello students, welcome to Legacy Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a big announcement that has come from the President Donald Trump, where he has announced to end the US sanctions on Syria, which were imposed almost a decade earlier during the Syrian or at the heights of Syrian civil war. In this context, during the US-Saudi Investment Forum meeting that took place in the Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, President Trump has announced that US would lift sanctions in what he has described as a first step toward normalizing relation between US and Syria. This has come after the ouster of Bashar al-Assad regime from Syria in the last December. Also, he has talked about that he has taken this decision after consultation with the regional countries, regional powers such as Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, and Prince Mohammed bin Salman of the Saudi Arabia. He has clearly stated that a new government that has come in Syria, he has a lot of hope from this government and he expects that this particular government and the country as a whole will succeed and US is there to help them. I say good luck Syria, show us something special. That is how a traditional, what you can call as a conventional Trump's style of talking. So that is what he has given indication about. Now this entire decision to upend the one of the hardest and strongest sanction regime on Syria, which till the Bashar al-Assad's rule was considered as nothing but a puppet of Iran, and Iran was using the country and the resources of the country to wage indirect war, we can say, in the state of Israel or toward the state of Israel. So this change of the government, that is after the ousting of Bashar al-Assad by the rebel groups, more specifically talk about the HTS group, announcement has marked a significant policy change in the US as well. The sanctions had been imposed over the past decade during the Syrian civil war. Syrian civil war began somewhere in the year 2011 and 12, and the former President Assad was accused of widespread human rights abuses, and also he was involved in the use of chemical weapons against the own citizens of Syria. So that is why the sanctions were largely imposed such. Now, before moving forward, let us try to understand the location of Syria on the map of the Middle East. So as you can see, this is the Middle East. Here you have the Mediterranean Sea. So Syria is a country which is having an open border, or we can say open coastline toward the Mediterranean Sea. This is also a question that has been asked previously in the UPSC prelims examination. So that is how the map you have to prepare. The world mapping is specifically referring to those areas which has continuously been in news in past few years. So you have Syria, as you can see. Why Turkey is interested? Because as you can see, Turkey has a long border with Syria, and the Kurds that reside on both sides of the border have presented as security challenges to the Turkish government in previous times. Then to the east you have the Iraq, to the south you have Jordan, and further you have Lebanon, and then to the south of Lebanon you have Israel. Now you can see here in this small area, a small border is shared between Israel and Syria as well, and that is why any changes that happens in Syria will have huge ramification over the politics of the entire Middle East, specifically as Syria is connected, or what you can say has been traditionally aligned with Iran and opposed to Israel, but geographically it is closer to Israel and further away from Iran as such. Now let us try to understand the context. So Islamist militant in Syria's northwest earlier had launched a surprise attack basically in the months of December, and that is why it has brought what you can call as the end of the Bashar al-Assad regime. And as we know that al-Assad has to flee Syria, and it is believed that he is hiding somewhere in Russia, who has been a traditional supporter of Syria as well, or more precisely Bashar al-Assad regime, and that is why Russia also has developed a naval base in the Mediterranean coast of Syria. Now the rebels of Syria were able to overtake the power, and the rebel group that is called as HTS, that stands for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham basically is a group that was organized by Abu Muhammad al-Julani, and Abu Muhammad al-Julani earlier used to work for Jabhat al-Nusra. Jabhat al-Nusra was a branch of Al-Qaeda in Syria. However, later in 2016, if we talk about Abu Muhammad al-Julani, why talking about Abu Muhammad al-Julani is important, because not only he was able to snatch the power from the Bashar al-Assad, but currently he is also the interim president of the country as such. So in 2016, he was no longer associated with Jabhat al-Nusra because he did not agree with the global jihadist framework and outlook that this organization has. He wanted to focus his energy in the Syria itself. So he formed Jabhat Fateh al-Sham, and the main objective of this group was to overthrow Bashar al-Assad from Syria and establish a Sunni Islamic rule over the country as such. Later on, it was this group that became HTS or Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Al-Sham, if you talk about, as you can see, it is coming at many places. Al-Sham basically refers to the region that is also commonly called as Levant, that includes regions such as Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Syria, and also Cyprus. That means along the Mediterranean coast, if we talk about all these countries, are referred to Sham or Levant as such. Now, if we talk about HTS earlier, because HTS was considered as aligned with the Al Qaeda, it was designated as a foreign terrorist organization by the previous US administration. However, if talk about the Abu Muhammad al-Julani or al-Golani, also he is referred as, because al-Golani, if you talk about the Arabic name, you will see that at the end you will always have al-Tikriti. For example, if you talk about the full name of Saddam Hussein, the dictator of the Iraq, his full name was Saddam Hussein al-Tikriti. So al-Tikriti basically means from where the person belongs to. Like Tikrit was the village from where Saddam Hussein belongs to. So similarly, al-Golani, because Golan Heights, you might have heard about a region in Syria, and we talk about the leader of the HTS, Abu Muhammad, belongs to Golan Heights. That is why Al-Golani as such. That is how the name is largely used. So he was previously active in Al-Qaeda in Iraq and was later wanted by the US government, and that is why organization and he himself was strongly sanctioned such. Despite this, Trump now appears ready to engage with his leadership, because again here the policy largely falls in the ambit of choosing of the lesser evil. So if we talk about Assad and Al-Jolani or Al-Golani, it seems that US has decided to back Al-Golani, because obviously the Bashar al-Assad regime was more strongly aligned with Iran, more strongly aligned with Russia, which US considered as a traditional rivals as such. And thus the White House also has said that not only the sanctions will be lifted, but also for the first time, Donald Trump will meet the current interim president of Syria in the Riyadh. Riyadh, as we have discussed, that the US and Saudi Arabia investment summit is undergoing in the Saudi Arabia. So if you talk about Ahmad al-Shara, as now he is largely referred as, he has given up his name of Al-Golani, he is no longer using that name. So Ahmad al-Shara is the name by which he goes now, and he is country's interim president, as we discussed before, and he's trying to again, what, as at least from his speeches what we can understand, that is trying to again create a situation of normalcy in Syria, again want to bring Syria on the track of peace, progress and development. And that is why you can see that he is trying and putting an effort to have a global outreach where he is trying to meet leaders from different regions, such as he has met leaders of European Union, he has met the foreign minister of the Germany, he also has met with the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, and several other leaders in the region as well. And in the next line of meeting will be with President Trump of United States, and which is considered as the most significant meeting after the ouster of Al-Assad in Syria as such. Now, as you know, that as far as the general population and public of Syria is concerned, they have faced a lot of difficulties because of the sanctions imposed by US. For example, if you talk about after the imposition of sanctions and the civil war that took place in Syria, we can see, as per the report published, the GDP of the country shrank by 54% in just 10 years. You can see how the GDP has fallen down in the case of Syria. So that is because of the economic decimation the country has seen, and this is something that what the current president is trying to upend as such. Now, apart from that, talk about the overall revenues that also has been what we can call as has taken a hit, because both oil and tourism, which was two major sources of revenue generation by the country, by Syria. For example, Syria, we know, is a country which is very old. It has very ancient civilization, we can say, and that is why it used to attract a lot of tourists who are interested in visiting archaeological site or historical sites and such. But because of the waging war that was waged here, because of the crude oil, it could not export because of sanction. We have seen the export value of Syria dwindling from $18.4 billion in 2010 to just $1.8 billion, almost we can say 90% decrease in the export revenue. And similarly, import also have fell from $22.7 billion to $6.5 billion. It is due to reliance on the imported fuel and wood. Now, also in certain part of the Syria, where especially wheat is produced, agriculture production sank to record lows in 2021 and 2022, with wheat alone falling to a quarter of around 4 million tons per year, as compared to the pre-war situation. So from the industrial economic perspective, from the agricultural perspective, because agriculture is significant as it ensures the food security of the people and the Syrian citizens, we can see Syria has been completely devastated as such, and that is why many people from Syria, they had no other option but to flee the country. They have taken refuge in many of the European Union countries. Even they have put their life in peril and danger by crossing the uncharted waters of the Mediterranean Sea. So this particular announcement of Donald Trump can be considered or can be seen as a sigh of relief for the country, and it can also provide further opportunities for the nation as well. The sanctions were brutal and crippling, that has been accepted by Trump, but they had served an important function. And what he is hinting is the ouster of Bashar al-Assad regime and the dwindling support of the people for him, because obviously people have faced large scale difficulties in their daily life as such. It was now Syria's time to shine. That is how he has described this particular decision. Secretary of State Marco Rubio would meet Syria's new foreign minister. Syria's new foreign minister is also appointed by the Al-Julani or Ahmad al-Shara, as we can say, and he has currently recently visited the United Nations as his first visit to the UN. So the Marco Rubio would meet Syria's new foreign minister in Turkey later this week, and in this meeting it is expected that the detailed designs of how sanctions will be lifted and how Syria can work together with US will be finalized. Trump also has offered Iran, by hinting at the Iran, he has offered opportunity to reduce the tension, saying it could be a safe and great country if it gave up its nuclear ambitions and such. So Trump seems to be very much interested in bringing a peace to the regional conflict of the Middle East, and this is something which is also being followed curiously and with a little degree of anxiety by Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, because everything that happens in the context of Iran, Syria, US relationship will have a huge bearing and impact on the Israel as well. So that is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.